listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am your host, Barnabas.
And I am your co-host, Samael. Welcome one, welcome all, to episode 64, King and Queen of Monsters. And today is a very special episode, which I'm kind of sad about, because we don't have a cult corner.
Or a chopping block, actually, for that matter. But
we just have a duo of discussions.
That's right. Today's episode is going to feature the very first Grave Discussions double feature review. And two movies in particular came out this past weekend that have been talked about in the horror circles quite a bit. So today we are going to be covering Ma and Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Dude, we were in the movie theater virtually like the whole afternoon up until the evening, and like my tailbone was killing me. Like my ass was hurting so bad.
Yeah, it's not easy to sit through it, but I would rather have been at the theater than like in my car.
Yeah,
because I've done that before and it's a bitch. But
yeah,
yeah, that's gonna happen a little bit later. But first, of course, as always, we have to give a shout out to our host network, Sports Radio Detroit.
And you can find them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sports Radio Detroit. That's SRD, Sports Radio Detroit. Gotta make that distinction from Detroit Sports Radio.
Yes. So, we also have a quick sponsored message to give, so stick around, and we'll be right back with what's been going on in the world of horror. Here at Grave Discussions, we know that addiction can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Detox Helpline help you break your addiction to drugs and alcohol. Call the addiction specialist now at the Detox and Treatment Helpline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They're always available for you, and if you have private insurance, they specialize in finding you the right treatment. Give them a call at 1-800-213-9257. That is 800-213-9257.
So there has been quite a lot happening in the world of horror over this past week. In fact, too much for us to actually put into the usual itinerary of the episode. But, go to your favorite horror news provider website and you can catch it all. But this one was one of the more exciting because it concerns a movie that we recently kind of fell in love with. And it's Terrifier 2. So the sequel to the cult hit. I mean, can you consider it a cult hit now? I think it's kind of fair to say it's gonna be.
It has,
at least.
It already has like a pretty decent sized following, including us. And a major factor for that is actually David Howard Thornton and like Damien Leone actually like interacting with their followers. And, you know, I sent David Howard Thornton a meme the other day with Art the Clown that he hadn't seen before, and he thought it was funny. So like,
yeah,
he's cool people, man. Like that's the thing that makes it like a cult movie. It's just like it came out of nowhere, kind of, you know. And they had the All Hallows Eve, the prequel, but this one was like another level of fucking crazy, hopeless, and like it doesn't appeal to everyone because like everyone's like so jaded. But like I've been waiting for this sequel because it's supposed to take place right after Art commits suicide and gets brought back to life by some evil force, and now he's a demon. I think Terrifier was actually, the prequel to All Hallows Eve.
I don't know, because I think even in Terrifier, he was giving off some demonic kind of tendencies, but...
Yeah, but he didn't teleport. Like, in All Hallows Eve, he was teleporting and shit.
Yeah, that was definitely pretty weird. I'm not sure. Hopefully, maybe this movie will kind of make it clearer, but Terrifier 2 has officially been funded now through the efforts of all of the fans who are dying to see a sequel. And it's going to begin filming this fall. So at the very earliest, we can probably expect Terrifier 2 to come out in 2020. Yeah, maybe spring. Depends if they want to just release it straight away, or what they want to do with it.
I hope it's not one of those like straight to Netflix things. I hope they drop the Blu-ray because I really wanted to pick that up.
Oh yeah, I don't think it will be, honestly. I think they're gonna have enough to where they can like probably do a Blu-ray release.
Speaking of Blu-ray releases, I'm gonna intervene really quick. I'm gonna give a little mini news segment for LGBTQ month. Scream Factory released a special rainbow-colored edition of the Babadook. It's like a running joke that the Babadook is a LGBTQ member. So like Scream Factory acknowledged that. And for all our LGBTQ viewers, I ordered it, and you should order it too from Scream Factory, the special LGBTQ version of Babadook.
I saw that. Yeah, it's like instead of the red case, it's like rainbow colored. It looks cool.
Yeah, I grabbed it just because like I want to show my support. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. So, guys, go check that out if you are interested. But we are going to move on to our next article here. Kind of sad news. There was going to be, of course, a Are You Afraid of the Dark film by Paramount. And I say that because now it's kind of more up in the air. Gary Dauberman, the writer of It and The Nun, who was supposed to be on this film, has officially left now. So it's kind of up in the air as to whether or not the movie is actually going to be created at all.
Yeah, I mean, he had a vision, you know what I mean, to like still have it appeal to kids, but still have that like kind of dark side of it, kind of like the TV series had, because they had some episodes that were like kind of questionable, like the cigar smoking clown stalking kids and shit like that. Yeah. So like I'm kind of bummed out because I mean we've been talking about this since like I think when we started Grave Discussions we brought this up.
Yeah, it's been a while honestly since it's been in the news, and I mean I've been super excited for it personally, so this is kind of a bummer. I'm hoping that they're just going to find another writer who has a similar vision to Gary Dauberman, or something really unique. I think would be cool, even like an anthology film in its own right, instead of like a big story or something. But I don't know. I mean, we're gonna see what happens with it. DJ Caruso is still apparently on board to direct the movie, but that's pretty much kind of all the information we have.
I was gonna say, as far as like a writing team or something, I think they should get Del Toro on this.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, because I think he had something to do with the Don't Be Afraid of the Dark movie, and I know they're not the same thing, but I almost feel like the tone could be pretty similar to like this. So yeah, it'd be a good idea.
I was gonna say, or whoever, and honestly it's gonna sound iffy to some people, but I don't care because I have my opinion. Fuck you. Whoever wrote the first Goosebumps movie, the more recent one, I'd be down, bro.
Yeah.
They could give it like a kind of like more kid-friendly feel, but then we could have like other writers come in. Maybe why not have Stephen King come in?
I mean, that'd be cool, yeah.
Imagine Stephen King, kid-friendly horror stories.
I think he could. I mean, he did Stand By Me.
Yeah.
Well, The Body, but...
Well, yeah, it's a coming-of-age movie, though, so I think it
falls in line, kind of. You don't have to have all the more adult themes, necessarily, but he could do it.
I just don't want to see James Wan's Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, we'll see what happens with it. Once we have more info, guys, of course, we'll let you know. But the last article here is about a very not kid-friendly actor, really. The star of the Blade films, Wesley Snipes, is going to be coming back to the action horror genre once again in a new zombie movie called Outbreak Z, which is being directed by stuntman choreographer Chris Brewster.
I think it's cool to see finally Wesley Snipes coming back for like an actual horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he is going to be like the main protagonist too, so like I guess we're just so used to seeing him as Blade that I think it's going to be kind of weird seeing him as a zombie hunter, but like I think we're going to have like minor flashbacks of Blade, like, oh, this is expected of Wesley Snipes, kill those fucking monsters.
Yeah, it's just a lot different now because the dude's like 56 or something.
Yeah.
So I don't completely expect him to be doing like spinning roundhouse kicks on zombies.
He's going to be like Ving Rhames from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, just really kind of like tough. He might, flying kick a zombie or something like that, but I don't know if he's going to be doing a ton of that kind of stuff, but it's still cool. I hope that he does do like his own scenes and
I hope so.
Just go crazy beating up some zombies, but just the fact that he can do all that shit makes me think it's not going to have a very serious tone. I think it's very much going to kind of vibe with like, what Blade was doing. But, I mean, we're going to see. It's directed by a stuntman choreographer, like I said. So yeah, the story itself actually focuses on two SWAT officers, one of whom is Wesley Snipes, on a desperate hunt through an overrun college campus in search of, I'm assuming, Subject Zero, somebody who holds a vaccine. So
I don't know. It sounds pretty good to me. It's like I said, like I mentioned to you earlier, it's different from like other zombie movies where it's just like post-apocalyptic. What are we gonna do now? Like these guys are looking for the vaccine. So like
yeah. And this story itself actually kind of reminds me of the plot from The Last of Us almost. And there was a whole scene in that game where you're on like a college campus looking for like research or something like that. So
I think I played it.
yeah, probably it's been a while for me, but I remember that, like segment of the game. So yeah, I think it could be cool. But we've got a few trailers here, and then we're going to get into the meat of the show. The first comes from A24, hopefully knocking it out of the park yet again with a movie titled In Fabric.
I didn't realize, but I actually heard of this movie even last year.
Mm-hmm.
I found it like on like this coming soon page of like upcoming horror movies, and like it was about this haunted fucking dress.
Yeah.
And I think I saved it to my bookmark so I could watch it when it came out. I definitely remember this one as soon as I like pulled up the trailer, I was like, hold on, wait, I've heard of this.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know they had a trailer, and it looks pretty dope. It seems like it's gonna be like one of those experimental genre films, like
Yeah, it's got those avant-garde kind of like vibes to it. Yeah, it definitely looks like a 70s like horror film fucked like a 2010s horror film,
Seems like a 2010s like horror film stylistically, like at least in terms of like camera work, but the whole premise is like really 70s-ish.
The premise and most of the visuals, honestly.
Yeah.
Because there's like you get that bloom, that kind of overexposed look. But yeah, I mean, the story itself is very unique. It's about a haunted dress. And we follow this. It's in the description, it says she's a divorcee played by Marianne Jean-Baptiste. And she gets stuck with this dress after getting divorced, and she like wants to go on a date, and look good, and all kinds of crazy shit starts happening basically. And we see shots of the dress like on its own floating,
even though it's been ripped apart by a dog.
Yeah,
it just comes back. I haven't seen one of those like haunted item movies in forever. I mean,
yeah,
we've seen like we haven't seen it, but we know about like that like Ray Bradbury stuff, and like the Friday the 13th TV show, haunted item type stuff. But this one kind of, dives into like this single item that this lady bought from this gypsy, like.
Yeah, it's kind of rare. I mean, we've seen stuff like Possession.
Yeah,
with
like
the
the
Dybbuk box. Yeah, and but those movies are kind of few and far between, honestly. I mean, you could probably count like Drag Me to Hell or something like that. But yeah, it's really cool because I think that we're gonna follow another cursed object here, so I'm excited to see how the story kind of pans out.
I think if it's gonna be another one of those iffy things, if this movie does good, then I think it's gonna become a trend.
Yeah,
because people still love that supernatural shit, but like the haunted house movies, honestly, after Curse of La Llorona, I gave up on them. Especially like since right before that we tried to give it a shot with Mercy Black, and even though people for some reason on these horror groups praise these things, they were bad movies. Not bad, but like literally you've seen it before.
Yeah. I mean, there's some rehashing for sure, but let's move on, guys. There's no release date for In Fabric just yet, but once there is, we'll let you know. The next trailer is for kind of a more fun creature feature, actually coming to Shudder on June 6th. So actually, by the time you're hearing this episode, it should already be out, but you can still check out the trailer if you want. It's for a movie called Boar.
Yeah, and it stars old WWE wrestler Nathan Jones.
Oh, yeah.
You remember him? He had the feud with Undertaker, and he was Undertaker's boy, too.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good times.
Him and Matt Morgan. Remember him?
Morgan.
So, these people are going somewhere. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And there's a boar killing them. And that's it. It's pretty much an 80s movie in modern day.
Yeah.
Because that's a very, very 1980s premise. Hey, look, a wild boar, and it's going to kill us. What shall we do? We're going to die.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of those like animal killer movies. More recently, a pretty good one was Backcountry, and it was literally just a couple going to like, like the forest or whatever to like hiking trails and stuff. and they come across a bear and they are trying to survive against the bear, and that's it. So this is kind of similar. It takes place in Australia, and it's pretty cool because it's actually got John Jarratt in it, who is the antagonist from Wolf Creek, and it's also got, playing against type, Bill Moseley from from House of a Thousand Corpses.
Holy shit.
Those Rejects. And he actually is playing like the nice, kind of, I guess, family guy. I don't know. It's very weird.
That's odd.
Yeah. Because, usually he plays like that fucking redneck antagonist type character.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of off-putting, but I think it could work. I mean, I'm tired of seeing like the same actors in like the same type of roles. Like they can only fit in a certain mold. Like let's expand that. You're kind of like really narrowing their choices.
Oh yeah.
Like when you like make them like if there's 3 movies in a row where someone was like a maniacal hillbilly, like where is the middle ground? Like there isn't. They're just gonna like keep casting him in those roles.
I mean, it's kind of similar to like, one of his co-stars, Sherry Moon Zombie. If I see her in something, I expect her to be fucking crazy, or else I don't know why she's in the movie.
Yeah, she was alright in Lords of Salem. She didn't really play like a redneck. She just played this like hippie.
No, I know. I mean, she's
took over by witches.
She's just like that weird kind of crazy chick.
Yeah,
that's her thing.
Yeah, that is her thing. I'm just tired of seeing her.
No, I get it. Yeah, I completely get it. But Bill Moseley looks like he's going to be kind of playing a different type of character, which is cool. And a movie about a killer boar. So, I mean, that's really all you need to know. Go check out the trailer. And the last trailer is for actually a sequel called Darlin'. And this is the follow-up to a movie you may know, The Woman.
Oh, the crazy bitch where like
they the try feral to like, woman, yeah.
They try to domesticate her and shit.
Yep, that's the one. So apparently in Darlin', the woman, played by Pollyanna McIntosh, escapes, and she actually finds this girl and raises her, and that girl is Darlin'. And Darlin' gets found at a Catholic hospital after being all feral and dirty and everything, and she gets taken in by, I guess, this convent, who's led by the bishop, played by Brian Batt, and they basically try to do the same thing. They try to domesticate her, make her like a good Catholic girl, and then the woman comes back and tries to get her back, basically.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it seems pretty cool. I have seen some of The Woman, but I don't know if I've ever seen the whole movie. It's supposed to be like really crazy.
Yeah, it was. I watched it in theaters way back when, and I do not remember it.
Okay, so we may have to do a refresher, but
yeah, we do.
But this one looks pretty cool too. I think might seem a little more tame than The Woman, but the main actress, Lauren Canny, actually looks pretty good, and it looks like it's going to be another bloody movie. So
I'm always down for those.
Oh yeah, but that one's coming out July 12th in theaters and on VOD, so be on the lookout for it. So Fiends, now it is time for our double feature review. But before we get into that, we do have a few sponsored messages.
All right, Fred. So the people at Sports Radio Detroit want us to cut a promo for Parsons and Slow.
I want them to cut me a check for Parsons and Slow.
Well, I've Googled some keywords, and I'm going to put them here in a promo. So here it goes. Ready, Fred?
Yeah, analytics away.
Parsons and Slow. We have the content consumers crave. Listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere else that podcasts are available, or we'll kill you. We won't really kill you. Just listen to our podcast, brand new, every Friday on Sports Radio Detroit.
Okay, I'm ready to do the promo.
Oh, that was it.
Hey, Samael.
Hey, Barnabas, what's up?
Oh, not much. Have you ever written a book?
No, but I've written a musical.
Oh, well, you can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company.
Aha, I hear countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their books to the market.
Their professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, their authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books.
So, make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Do not wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author.
And seeing your name in print.
Aha! You've already written a book. Next thing to do is make this free call now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
The number is 1-800-213-9259. Again, 1-800-213-9259. Welcome back, Fright Fiends, for the first movie in our double feature review this episode. And that first movie is director Tate Taylor's Ma, starring Octavia Spencer as Sue Ann Ellington.
So we were waiting for this movie for quite some time because, like, it looked like your stereotypical, like, stalker slash, stalk and slash movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned into something different. I'm not going to really spoil it, like, at all. This is more of a dissection. I felt like this movie was, like, I don't know. I felt like some things were, like, really dumb.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me just say this. It was kind of a revenge movie. And, like, I felt like it was kind of stupid that they made Ma into, like, the antagonist for getting revenge for something that was horribly done to her in her day. Like, stuff that if it happened to us or, like, someone we know, we'd want revenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, like, I guess because, like, the fact that she was, like, stalking kids and, like, that wasn't the right thing to do because I guess those aren't the people responsible. I guess that's why she's considered the antagonist because it's like a... I don't want to spoil if I say this. It's just like a revenge that's, like, not directly, like, aimed at the specific people, even though, like, she did go after, like, the specific person.
I get it.
So I felt like that extra revenge was, like, sort of unnecessary. I guess those people were dicks to her, but, like, like, what does, like... I guess, yeah, I see why she's the antagonist now. Like, what do these young kids have anything to do with it?
Yeah, I agree with all of that, but at the same time, when you look at a movie like Slaughter High,
Yeah.
for example, it kind of plays that same angle, and I think it's really kind of trying to make you believe in something that's very real. I mean, that something like that can just make you kind of crack.
Yeah, it can. Of course it can. It's a traumatic event, especially, like, with Marty from Slaughter High, there was, like, physical violence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to spoil it too much with Ma, but it was, like, a different type of violence. It was physical, but it wasn't, like punching, kicking, or burning.
Violence,
yeah,
yeah.
it was, like...
Yeah, I know. I
It's
don't want to
kinda
say
worse.
too much more, yeah, but kind of. But basically, as the movie kind of progresses, you sort of sympathize more with her, but at the same time, she becomes a lot crazier too, and you sort of pick up on this even in her daily routines as it kind of shows you. She's very out of touch with kind of what's going on around her.
I think so. You could see that through her matriarchal responsibilities.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. That was, like... I think that's, to me, like, what initially, for me at least, like, made her, like, the antagonist was, like her matriarchal responsibilities were, like, just completely skewed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, abuse is abuse, okay? You don't have to physically abuse your kids, but if you're sort of sheltering them and, like, preventing them from, like, interactions with people their age and
Mhm.
turn them into a weirdo, I think that's abuse too. And, like, she ended up, like, being the abused to, like, herself, like, neglecting her, flesh and blood. So
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, related to that, I think probably the biggest theme in this movie was just loneliness,
big time.
in conjunction with that abuse and bullying and stuff like that. And, we won't really give away anything more, but that theme is definitely the most prevalent. And one thing that actually I liked about the use of that theme and its application to, like, the other characters was that you kind of feel it in the main girl as well.
Of course, yeah.
'Cause
She was kind of like the new kid on the block, struggling to make friends. And then stereotypical horror movie stuff. She makes friends with people who are drinking and doing this, and she gets into some shit. Kind of like Pumpkinhead 2. Remember Pumpkinhead 2?
Yeah,
The daughter of the sheriff gets into...
roped into it.
Yeah, with, like, the bad kids, and then they summon Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, it's that kind of whole move into a new town thing. And this movie had quite a few horror tropes and made a lot of very questionable decisions, and, like, the actions of the characters at many times that kind of had us scratching our heads, but I
felt like like the direction they tried to go in terms of humor too, like was kind of like meh. Like they had some like parts that were supposed to be funny, because like teenagers, they talk shit. But, like some parts were just like extremely unnecessary and kind of like cringy when they would talk. You know what I mean?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, the voice of reason, really, kind of, and sort of our connection to this movie was McKaylee Miller as Haley.
Yeah, she was
the very blunt like girl.
She was like the only one I was like, she may be onto something. Like,
yeah, because the rest of the characters were very much like movie
naive
characters.
naive as fuck.
Yeah.
Hey guys, someone broke into my house. I'm gonna take a shower. That type of shit.
Yeah, so I think this movie was kind of actually trying to play on a lot of what the 80s did in terms of characters, dialogue, etc., but did put a unique spin on it, even though it was very much like a small town, kind of more realistic sort of horror film. The angle was still pretty cool because of the whole relationship with Ma and the kids, like them going over to her house to which first of all, if you're looking at it logically, like why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to like some random woman's house to drink. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what's.
But there has to be that naivety in these movies, like especially with the younger kids, because like even though for us it seems over the top, I think this movie made a great point on, hey, there are kids like this out there that haven't been taught don't talk to strangers. They were just expected to know it and haven't been taught, drinking in this with with all your peers at some, secluded old woman is bad. Getting other people to buy you liquor is bad because you never know what can happen. This is kind of like an I Told You So movie. Like everything our parents warned us not to do that we like to dismiss. And these kids did that exact same stuff that we were told not to do. And this time something bad actually does happen. So
yeah. So again, kind of, hearkening back to 80s horror movies in general and slashers specifically, because this is almost kind of like an evolution from the slasher movie.
It is.
But, you still got even the group dynamic. You kind of have like the sort of nice guy. You got the douchey guy.
You got the bitchy popular girl, the smart virgin, and for some reason the black guy, like, because you have to, right? Like,
the token black guy. I mean, he has to be in there or else it's not an 80s horror movie, basically.
Yeah, that's true. And this one was kind of like when you think about it, Friday the 13th is this movie's like, great grandparent, because Friday the 13th started with all these tropes. It was Halloween that started with the virgin always survives. But Friday the 13th was the don't have sex, watch the kids, don't do that. It was like, it had the whole checklist, and now we have this, the great grandson / daughter of Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
In a way.
Oh, yeah. So
in terms of tropes, I'm saying, not in terms of like how the movie was like laid out, and executed. Just in like what kind of message it had, like it was the same thing as the 80s horror movies, like you mentioned. Like 80s slashers like definitely influenced this movie just because of like the group dynamic between the kids.
Yeah, basically like the ideation of this movie is that exactly. The
yeah.
visuals, not quite so much. It definitely flows more so like a modern film.
Oh yeah, it is.
Looks
definitely
more like a modern film. You've got like the drone shots and stuff like that here and there.
Yeah.
But kind of in reference to that, I mean, I thought the cinematography was okay. Some of the editing didn't sit super well with me because there were lots of shots that just kind of went from like one to the other very suddenly and kind of strangely, or at least like the frame it went to next was not the best. Like I feel like some of the transitions weren't that great.
I felt that way too. I mean, I'm a big like cinematography nerd, and like that can usually make or break a movie for me. And like I noticed everything you're talking about, like as it was happening, and like I felt like I don't feel like they were like lazy with the cinematography, but I felt like it didn't like really like fit the tone of the movie, like the shots that they took. Like I felt like there should have been like sometimes it's a qualm of mine, sometimes I like them. I felt like this movie was just like too many medium shots. I don't know. I complain about that a lot. It makes it seem like way too personal with every fucking character when every character gets their own medium shot, and like there's like one guy's talking, camera switches back to the other person. Just show them both in the fucking frame like real life. You don't fucking look back and forth between you and the guy in front of you. Like, see, that's the thing. I didn't feel like super involved with this movie. I just kind of wanted like Ma to get hers. You know what I mean? Even though like, don't get me wrong, she was wrong, but like, I just felt like the camera work did not fit. Like, I don't know. Sometimes the message and the camera work can go together. All right.
Yeah.
If the message is like, oh, you know, don't bully people, this, that. You can't have a medium shot of like every single fucking person. Now you're kind of like making us too personal with every fucking character, and that's how I felt like with this movie.
Yeah, and speaking of the characters, I mean, the cinematography can definitely change your relationship to a specific character or characters as well. And yeah, I feel like that connection wasn't there for me pretty much at all. I was really kind of only invested in the character of Ma. Helped, of course, by the phenomenal performance by Octavia Spencer.
She's so good, bro. She was the best actor in this movie. Her and
Juliette Lewis, honestly.
Yeah.
Just for that one scene where she's like yelling, but it's Juliette Lewis. But she did good. I mean, the actress that I mentioned before, McKaylee Miller as Haley, I think also did a great job, honestly.
Yeah, Haley was a big time like capital B word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like lowercase. Like she's kind of like. But she was smart too. Like she peeped the bracelet thing, and
yeah, I just think, you know, like with the dialogue she delivered, I thought that was top notch. But the final girl, Diana Silvers, who played the main character Maggie, was also very good.
I think she was too. Like she played that shy, timid new girl very well, even with her facial expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Like she looked like she was actually like this virginal, innocent girl, and like. See, that's going to be a problem now because I feel like I've seen her in this role before.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets typecast, honestly, in more horror movies as the same type of girl. So it would be cool to see her in a role like Revenge or something like that, where she's just going crazy. But, you know, she did a good job. She wasn't like a complete standout for me personally, but...
She wasn't, and for me, like I said, it was the cinematography. Like,
yeah.
you got the same shot on Maggie as you would get on Ma and Haley and the token black dude. Like, it was just like, all right, man, which person am I supposed to be focused on like the most when you're showing the same shot for each fucking person?
Yeah, I mean, they had some okay close-up shots here and there, but we needed more. We needed to see more of that emotion. It kind of didn't help that they were very stereotypical characters as well anyway, but that really falls more on the writing.
What I did like about Maggie though is like, even though like the cinematography didn't like the cinematography, pay attention. The cinematography didn't really paint her as like the main character. I felt like her like her like body movements and everything was that of a main character. Like she wasn't like uppity and like jumping. She was more like reserved, observant, and all those like characteristics that you see in like a final girl. Like she would like, you know, touch her fingers a lot. Like, you know, like. She was kind of nervous. She looked down a lot and looked up with her chin down. So like, it was all those physical movements that really like kind of made up for the fact that the cinematography didn't really show you like who the main character was and who we're supposed to empathize with the most. Like her movements is kind of what made it like, all right, you know, I guess they made up for that lack of like personal cinematography for like the main character. But like, I don't know. I felt like her character was done well, and like. I think she's going to definitely reprise this role in other horror movies, like this type of person, because like she does it so well. So they're just going to be like, you know what? Next time we need a final girl, it's going to be her.
Yeah, and I mean, it helped that, you know, her character had a pretty natural evolution as well, which is always important in a main character, especially in a horror movie. I think we see, you know, not enough of that, honestly, which is a good like character arc, good evolution. But Hers was good. Ultimately, I ended up caring about her. She wasn't like the most unique character in the world, but again, she's really just supposed to be kind of a random human girl. So
I just didn't want her to die a virgin. That's why I was rooting for her.
Yeah.
No, that's the worst thing to die.
We won't spoil what happens with that.
Remember, I said die a virgin, so you don't know where I'm going with here. Did she die not a virgin? Is she alive and a virgin? Is she alive and not a virgin? You don't know. You don't know.
Is she a lizard and a virgin, or?
Has she always been a lizard?
Can she reproduce asexually?
Can she?
Ooh.
You will never find out because that is not discussed in this movie.
Find out in Ma, family tree.
Oh my god.
No, but
Shark jumping. We haven't used that term in a while.
oh yeah, there we go. Guys, don't listen to me. I have terrible ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, we're stupid. Don't
Yeah.
listen. Sometimes we have good ideas.
Sometimes
Like the stuff for the Invisible Man.
yeah, grave discussions in general. I think every week we have good ideas for this show. But,
I think so.
but yeah, no, ultimately for Ma, I enjoyed it. You know, we've been talking a lot about things that we haven't liked. We've talked about things that we did like, but the framework for this movie is solid. The story luckily is unique enough, and we get enough scenes of like them partying, and pretty much every time they're partying is also when the really crazy shit happens.
Yeah.
So I mean, the parallels are like right there, you know.
You could tell something was off. Like,
Mm.
I can't believe we didn't mention this. There's always a rule, right? In every movie. And this one was don't go upstairs.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a big thing in the
Oh,
trailer too.
Oh, I wonder what's up there. Like, just like every other movie where they tell you not to go somewhere.
Of course.
Don't
And
go upstairs. Don't go in the house. Don't open this specific closet that's in my room in the corner. Like,
you can't say that to somebody because then you're just inviting people.
yeah, you're
To be curious
You're
and
piquing their
checking.
curiosity. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think? Without spoiling, of course. I mean, what's your reaction to the upstairs reveal?
I thought it was kind of tame for like how serious she was about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I mentioned that stuff about the neglect and stuff earlier, so I guess it made sense. But then that kind of shows you that Ma really isn't this antagonist because she actually had that conscience that she knew what she was doing was wrong, and that's why it was kind of being hidden. So
Yeah.
way to delve into the psyche of Ma.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, when you put it like that, I can definitely understand it and maybe even be partial to it, but I was definitely expecting more. So I think in that aspect, I kind of set my expectations a little high. So ultimately, I was slightly disappointed. That's kind of all I'll say. But you know, the direction it took with it was still fine.
I felt like this was a lot better than Blumhouse's more recent movies, like Mercy Black and all those Into the Dark episodes. So, like, my final score for this movie would be, I mean, like I said, it was good, but nothing special. So I would just give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay, fair enough.
It was average.
Yeah. You know, for me, I pretty much echo that exact sentiment. You know,
Yeah.
This was a pretty well composed movie. There was some thought put into it. Octavia Spencer was amazing, and her character really is what kind of drove this movie, because otherwise it would be just a movie about, you know, teen dickheads trying to party it up and
Yeah.
running into the wrong person. But there was enough thought put into it, and I liked it.
One thing that I didn't mention that I gave it -1 for was the pacing was kind of weird.
Yeah.
We went from one scene to another to like it would go from like Maggie at home, and now Ma's texting her, video calling
Yeah.
her, and now Ma's watching them while they're at school, and now we're just at Ma's house. But then the next morning, Maggie gets home and she doesn't know how she got there, and now we're at the vet's office, and it's
Yeah.
like it's just all over the place. I felt.
It can be a little disorienting because when you're trying to pace something, you're not trying to invite people to question like, oh, how'd they get here? How'd they get there?
Yeah.
And that's something for me that I want to bring up in our next review. But
Oh,
but
shit.
I actually forgot to mention it before. I think part of that weird pacing falls partially into like the editing as well. Like, I think that they were trying to just quicken the pacing sometimes to just accelerate like the story, because obviously the story was supposed to take place over a period of time.
Yeah, it felt like there were some gaps too. Like
Yeah.
that was the big thing for me, the gaps, and like I understand maybe nothing happened that day, but it didn't happen that day because you wrote it like that. How about write something
Right.
so something actually happened, so the transition to the next scene won't just be so like nonsensical. Not nonsensical, but like
Yeah.
I want to say like without reason, because it was just like it was kind of very arbitrary how we got from one scene to another. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you know, this isn't a criticism that I think either of us usually give, but this movie could maybe even have been 5 to 8 or something minutes longer.
I think
You know,
so, yeah, because
just to
like
clear it up.
the ending was like I don't know, it wasn't like solid. We're not really
Yeah.
sure what happened, like even after like that not gonna spoil, even after that injury near the end. Like everything still appeared normal.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like she just fucking walked around like.
Yeah, I don't want to say much more than that about
That's
it,
it.
but
Like,
I get it. Yeah,
it was like, bro, I'd be
I wasn't
paralyzed.
a fan. Yeah, I was a fan. Ultimately, though, I gave this movie on Letterboxd a 3.5 out of 5, so it was about the same
Yeah.
score. Definitely
Yeah.
a
Exactly
must watch.
the same score.
Yeah, definitely at least a must watch for Octavia Spencer and
I
a
think
few of
so.
the other
She-
actors. But
Her, Haley, and Maggie. Like those three, I think. I didn't really give a shit about anyone else in the movie.
right, yeah.
The kid, what was Maggie's boyfriend? See, I don't even remember
I
him.
think it was like Andy or something.
Andy and
like
his
that.
dad, Ben.
Yeah.
I thought Ben was like kind of douchey
Mhm.
at the bar. You know what I mean? Because I don't think a human being's that like mean to another human being. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like just very like movie.
Mhm.
Like it would only happen in a movie like that.
Yeah. Well, surprise appearance there by Luke Evans, and he just always has to come off as like an intimidating guy.
Oh yeah.
Because he's English or whatever. But that's our review of Ma. We do recommend you go check it out while it's still in theaters.
Yeah, that way you don't have to pay $20 for the Blu-ray.
Yep,
Just go watch it for $7.
for sure. Yeah, let us know what you think about it if you do check it out. The next movie in our double feature review is probably one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and I think a lot of people's, Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
And before anyone says, this is not horror, we don't just cover horror.
Mm-hmm.
We cover the subgenres that even though they're not horror, they're still part of the horror community. I don't know if that makes sense. Monsters, supernatural. Like some people were like, oh, Hellboy isn't horror. Yeah, it's not horror. It's supernatural / fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're about. Grave discussions. We're not.
Yeah.
Of course, we're like the horror collective. You know, we like talk about horror, but like we still talk about supernatural movies, talk about monster movies, killer animal movies, even if they're not horror. Like Jaws wasn't like a straight up horror movie. That was like a adventure / thriller.
Yeah.
But still, killer shark. Therefore, we can talk about it. I think anything that like would be fucked up to witness in real life, we can talk about. Like not just solely horror. Like we could even talk about Cable Guy with Jim Carrey. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That would fall into that realm.
I think so, too. I mean, you know, like we said in one of our previous episodes where we were talking about pretty much this exact thing, you know, horror is kind of like the loving uncle of the film family. You know, it really welcomes a lot of different genres because it just encompasses the weird and strange and just, you know, the uncommon kind of films and subgenres and stuff like that. So, I mean, giant monster movies I think fit right in because even though this movie and a lot of those other movies, even a lot of the old Godzilla stuff, have more like sci-fi action leanings.
They still fit in.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it would even make sense for us, like, not saying that we will or we won't for Cult Corner or for, like, I'm just saying in general, like, it would even make sense for us to talk about The Dark Knight. You know what I mean? Because solely because of Joker.
Yeah.
Like, and even Dark Knight Rises because of Bane, you know? Like, there are certain elements that aren't horror, but, like, they're close. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these dark movies, like, even Crimson Peak and The Crow, like, a lot of people wouldn't consider those, like, horror, but, like, it's still, like, on the spectrum of, like, supernatural / dark movies. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll even talk about fucking Daredevil, for the love of God. You know what I mean? Because, like, it's one of those dark movies. We're not just horror. We like dark things. That's the thing with us.
Yeah, spoopy things.
Spooky, not scary.
Exactly. I mean, it can be scary, but, you know, we love it all, honestly. And horror is on at this point in its life pretty loose. You know, like, you have pure horror. You have stuff like, I don't know, Stranger Things. I mean, it's more sci-fi horror leaning
it
with
fits in.
Yeah, with a coming of age thing. But yeah, it's talked about in horror circles all the time.
Oh yeah.
So is Godzilla. Plus, the first Godzilla film really was like a dramatic horror movie. I mean, it was very low to the ground, giant radioactive monster destroying Tokyo and stuff, you know? I mean, come on.
I would consider all the first monster movies to be horror movies.
Yeah, even King Kong was like largely considered a horror movie.
Oh yeah,
you know?
until recently it was like you watched the King Kong from a few years ago. I
Mhm.
think we both went to go see that.
With Skull Island.
I think not Skull. Was it Skull Island?
Yeah, that was the newest one. Yeah.
I think we saw that. What year was that?
20.
Was it 10?
No, like 2015, 16 or something like that.
I saw the one before that, I think.
Oh, you might maybe the one with Jack Black.
I have no idea. All I remember is
Oh.
then I saw it, and even though it didn't fit into horror, we still have to talk about it because at one point King Kong was like horror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not horror, but I think monster movies fall into the spectrum, no matter what anyone says.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think at this point, with stuff like Pacific Rim even coming out and CGI becoming more advanced, it's a lot easier to it's a lot easier to pack in more action elements because it's such a farther reaching kind of thing. You know, I mean, this giant monster against humanity. Cloverfield actually did it really well because that was like a pure like adrenaline rush horror movie, and the first person perspective really kind of helped it out too. You know, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think definitely has some horror elements in it, and even some not scary scenes, but some pretty like jarring scenes.
I think
know?
if you put yourself in their shoes, it would be horrific. So-
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like if you can put yourself in the shoes of the characters, dude, if that was happening in the real world, what the fuck? I'd be freaking out.
Or if there was a giant lizard dinosaur and a giant 5-headed hydra and a giant moth, I'd be like, yo, time to pray. You know, like,
I would be digging a hole in the backyard and just trying to like get in there and survive
I'd
the
be
radiation or
swallowing
something.
bullets.
Yeah. So, I mean, even that alone is horror, but there's a scene, you know, not a big spoiler, but there's a scene in Godzilla King of the Monsters where Godzilla is like underwater, and
that shit looked, the cinematography made
Yeah.
it look so fucking like creepy, especially that close up on his eye.
dude, I would be fucking terrified.
And that fucking Asian dude just went up and he petted him. Goodbye, old friend.
Yeah,
Like, what the fuck?
scientists are weird, but
Yeah.
but you know, but that scene I think was a good example of suspense and horror in this movie.
I think so.
Even though it largely was an action movie, you know, and we're definitely gonna talk about that too. But you know, this movie is the follow-up to 2014's Godzilla. I don't know, have you seen that yet?
No, I saw what was it, Godzilla 2000?
Oh yeah,
I had the big plush Godzilla that I bought from Kmart for like $50.
it was a big like thing back then, even though it was kind of a shit movie. You know?
It was so fucking bad. I tried to rewatch it and I was like, you know, Godzilla, it's Godzilla, so no matter what, it's Godzilla. And then I
Yeah.
put it on and I was like, nope, not today.
I mean, Godzilla itself looked pretty bad. 2014 really brought it back to a more like primal, ancient Godzilla, which is really cool. Which is basically the Godzilla that we see in this movie. Only in this movie, he was a lot like beefier. But honestly, 2014's is like kind of forgettable. It was an okay return to form, which made Godzilla a lot like more terrifying once again.
But
But
with this movie,
Yeah.
kind of, spoiler alert, he's the good guy.
yeah, which happened a little bit into the timeline of Godzilla back in the day when it was created. You know, as they were introducing more monsters, they kind of had to, because I mean, what else is going to happen? You know, fucking King Ghidorah invades, and then what, they're going to like team up together and destroy the earth. Then you have no more movies, you know. So
Yeah, plus like a monster's trying to like take Godzilla's territory, so what's he supposed to do? Just sit back and, oh yeah, fuck it, yeah, you could do that. No, he's the alpha. He's gonna fucking be like, yo, what's up, motherfucker? Like, you know,
Exactly.
like that shit like that.
yeah, which is why King Kong versus Godzilla is the next thing on the slate too. But
I hate how they spoiler alert, they mentioned Skull Island, but they didn't show King Kong in the movie.
it was a fine tease. It was fine.
I'm guessing they just didn't want him to walk up and bow to Godzilla, because that would have been fucking stupid.
Yeah. Well, obviously we won't say exactly what happens to Godzilla, but the way that they're teasing it is that basically they will somehow be on equal footing when they fight, more or less. But you know, that's a whole other discussion. Godzilla in this movie is definitely something different. The 2014 one was really kind of his like reboot, so his origin sort of once again. Just kind of a forgettable movie. I think a lot of people probably won't even realize that this movie is sort of like the follow-up to that. But
Honestly, I didn't know this
It's
movie
cool.
was a follow-up to any movie.
Yeah, no. And you know what? It's fine because this movie can definitely just act on its own, you know, because it really kind of is its own thing.
What I really liked about this movie is like the protagonist, I already said it, it is Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
The characters and the dialogue are kind of only there to let you know how much Godzilla is like struggling.
Yeah, because other than that, it admittedly kind of sucks.
They kind of serve no purpose other than to like help him.
Yeah, essentially. And we see that in a big way a little later on into the movie, which I actually liked. The way that they went about really helping Godzilla was pretty funny because it's
Oh my god.
kind of like ironic, but
Listen, they help him the same way they initially hurt him.
yeah, that's all we'll kind of say. But it was a fine scene. It was actually like a pretty emotional scene. I wasn't completely emotionally invested, but that's really only because I strictly cared about giant monsters fucking each other up.
Yeah, that's what we came to see. And
Mhm.
you know, for a movie about giant monsters fighting, damn, there sure wasn't a lot of giant monsters fighting.
Oh, I know. I mean, dude, think about it though. Like, think about how much each one of those battles like cost.
Dude,
you know,
like the thing I didn't like though, once there was a battle, the camera would like start panning around the monsters, and then it would kind of just fall out and then start focusing on the humans.
yeah.
Like you'd see about 10 seconds of fighting and then the humans executing their plan, and it was like, why? We see more scrapping, but I mean, how can two giants like fight it out? It'll just be like swing, miss, bite, ow, bite, ow.
I mean,
scratch.
you know, that said though, I mean, I think the battles were pretty cool. Ultimately, you
The
know,
final one was.
yeah, but it was still pretty sweet seeing like, you know, the monsters going 1v1 leading up to that fight too. I thought, like when Mothra and another big monster fought, I thought that was like a pretty cool fight.
I thought so too.
You know, but I mean, I get why they couldn't show it to us too much, but all things considering, I think the amount of giant monsters in general in this movie was totally great and fine. The movie itself was like 2.5 hours long, so for that time like frame, I was satisfied with it. Yeah, I would have liked to see maybe like one or two more battles or like maybe a longer final battle, but even the final fight took what, 30 to 45 minutes in its entirety, you know, so there's enough here for you if you came to see this movie strictly for the kaiju battles, which I'm assuming you did. Critics are really kind of railing on this movie because of the other elements, and look, I get it, you know, as a film student and scholar, I guess, I have to look at the whole movie too, and yeah, the characters and the actual plot of the characters and everything was not that great.
It wasn't
At all.
I mean, I'm not a pro, you know, film student or anything, but like a lot of people have this little gift where they can kind of see a crap movie, and I felt like the story in this one was pretty cliche. The pacing too was like, I felt it was like a lot longer than it needed to be, but I felt like with like the things that the characters were doing in the movie, it was necessary. That's why I felt like maybe change the script around a bit, make them do less of that shit, simplify it a little bit.
Well,
But this just felt like a cash grab blockbuster movie. You know what I mean? Like just stereotypical, this is going to be the big movie. Like,
Oh, it's a huge summer blockbuster, but I get what you're saying. Like I was alluding to before, actually, with like Maz editing, this movie also did the kind of thing where it's like, all right, we're in Mexico in one scene, and then the other scene we're on a plane flying over fucking, I don't know, whatever, Japan or something, you know. So there was a lot of those convenient transitions. But, you know, in this movie, I think it's less like offensive. Just because, you know, we kind of, it's a global film.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to take some liberties just to move it along, because ultimately I'm not going to care if, you know, you're fucking flying to the United States and it's supposed to take you like however many days and you get there in 2 seconds.
Oh my God. I also feel like there was like way too much exposition.
Oh, there was a ton. Yeah.
So much, bro. Like they literally, like there was not one stone unturned. You knew everything that was going on because people would announce what they were about to do before they did.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of like internal justification that's just fucking laid out there.
This whole movie was just like, yeah, like Darwinism or whatever, and like,
No,
it was just like arbitrary morality. You know what I mean? Like,
it's supposed to be very current in the theme of like the planet being destroyed. That's all I'll kind of say, but that is very pushed in your face, and I think it's definitely supposed to be, and I feel like it's been kind of happening a lot. I mean, I don't blame them because people want to make climate change and everything known, but that is definitely a big thing in this film. It's just kind of masked by all the giant monsters, you know.
I feel like just because this movie's this big on a global scale, story wise,
Mm-hmm.
and like, just because it's 2 hours long, doesn't mean you have to draw out every fucking scene. Like, the movie was okay. Look, 2 hours 30 minutes. I understand, but it was drawn out.
Yeah, that some of those scenes between characters just I feel like didn't need to happen or could have been tightened up for sure.
Like, you know how some movies have like an uncut version where it's like longer? This movie needs a cut version where we take out like, dude, we don't have more than 30 minutes of just like filler scenes.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of unnecessary shit for sure. But, you know, at the end of the day, the thing that really matters most is the giant monster battles, and I think they did them well. You know, the CGI was a lot, but I don't think that it was too much. I don't think they did a bad job with it. You know, I didn't see any like glaring issues with the CGI. I mean, when King Ghidorah was fucking coming out of the clouds and shit, you know, in like not out on the outside, I would have been, but on the inside, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, you know.
If you saw that shit, you'd fucking shit right where you stand, you know.
Oh yeah,
standing shit. Another, since we are, you know, horror guys, let's talk about another horror element that we didn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The battle cry, like when it would be just silence and be like, wait, and then you hear the, you know, like the fucking that Godzilla screech. Like,
it's hard to replicate. Yeah,
I can't replicate it because it's like a soundboard or whatever the fuck they're using to make that noise, but like, it was fucking creepy, bro. Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like we were saying, you know, it's a giant fucking, I don't even know how many foot tall monster.
Yeah, it's a dinosaur, you know? Like,
exactly. I mean, basically a prehistoric god.
And I can shoot laser beams out its freaking mouth.
That's the scariest part, honestly. The fact that you can just shoot atomic breath. So.
It didn't seem like that great of an attack, though, because it always, like, just temporarily stunned the Hydra.
I mean, it could fuck up a whole city, though, but... Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I think the fact that they made Godzilla almost on the same level with a lot of the monsters and sometimes vulnerable was a good thing, because we didn't need him just, you know, stomping around destroying everything.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
Plus, considering that there were like 17 monsters or something like that, was cool. I won't like spoil it, but I will say you don't see all of them all the time. The movie still definitely focuses on the several that were, you know, marketed hardcore. But it was so cool seeing like all the other monsters too, and it really gave us kind of a sense of the scope of this, I guess, sort of invasion almost, because we got to see the other monsters in other parts of the world. So that was cool, you know.
They at least touched base on some of the other monsters. Like I said, they mentioned Skull Island.
Right. Yeah.
And they showed like some underground monster base in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
So apparently we got monsters in Detroit that the government's keeping from us.
Watch out. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, all those like little things that they put in there, awesome.
There was like a lot of Easter eggs. Like, I was struggling like to follow it because I'm not with the whole like Godzilla culture. But like, I remembered some things like Skull Island. I remember Kong Skull Island. There was like a few other when they zoomed in on that map and they were panning across. Like, there was some on there. Like, if you Google them, you'll find like some of like the older monsters and stuff. So like,
yeah, I mean, I was familiar with a few of the names, but I also haven't seen like all of the Godzilla movies. So no, it was cool. I mean, it definitely gave us a sense of the world. It was good world building, I thought. So it did draw me in more. If it didn't have any of that stuff and it just kind of stuck you with these one-dimensional stupid characters, then it would have been way worse. But the fact that they kind of, you know, gave you all these little hints and cool Easter eggs and gave you a bigger sense of like what was going on, that was sweet.
They had a few of those cornball comedy moments where like
Yeah.
they tried to be humorous and the whole theater was just quiet, like not even a chuckle.
They don't work in these kind of movies, honestly, because in that kind of situation, I'm not cracking jokes. You know, if someone cracks a joke, I'm gonna like punch them.
I'd probably be cracking jokes. Like, I mean, we're gonna die. Might as well die
I
laughing.
guess so, yeah. But just in the context of what was going on, they just didn't really fit, and they were just bad jokes, honestly, too. So
Yeah, I felt like the placement could have been better.
yeah, I don't know. It didn't really make a ton of sense to me, especially considering that it was surrounded completely by like action sequences and
I'm gonna give a
kaiju fights.
I'm gonna give a minor spoiler.
Okay.
Sometimes it's okay to have sacrifices in movies,
Yeah.
but when you have two sacrifices of two big characters, I feel like that's just kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like more of the main characters probably should have died in general, you know, just to have like more of an impact. There were a lot of very convenient parts in this film where the characters just escape death. And that is one of the criticisms. I mean, not even including the characters and the story in general, but just those action movie tropes that spilled over, like the characters getting away at the very last possible second.
By like
you know?
a millimeter.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. And
It happens a lot, by the way.
it was a little harder to believe in this movie too, considering that Godzilla's a fucking walking nuclear reactor and there's nukes going off all over the place and,
And there's
stuff like
people
that.
just running by right next to him.
Yeah,
And he's like
very
not
weird.
stepping on them.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I know I'm fighting this Hydra. Let me make sure not to step on the humans.
Yeah, there were a lot of evacuations and stuff. It was definitely a lot safer in comparison to something like Shin Gojira, which I did like. That was the Japanese kind of reimagining, almost reboot or spiritual successor. I don't know. But that one was pretty brutal because Godzilla was just indiscriminately fucking killing everybody.
Yeah.
So you know, so this movie didn't quite have that. It definitely leaned more into like the action adventure side of things, but you know, I went to see it mainly for one thing and one thing only, and I was satisfied by that. And you know, you can definitely criticize the other elements, but for me, I think, you know, out of 10, let's say, I'd give this movie at least like an 8.
You think so?
Personally, yeah, because I mean, what it was mainly doing, I think it did really well.
That's fair. I was going to give it like a little bit higher than Ma because I did enjoy this movie. Looking back at it, you can kind of be like, okay, that, and that were fucking stupid.
If you pick out things.
7.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's fair.
If you pick out certain things, you know, but from like beginning to end, as far as what it was intending to accomplish, I enjoyed the hell out of it, you know, and I do kind of want to go see it again because we didn't get to see it in like IMAX or anything. I think that would be like the definitive experience for sure.
I don't know. My ass already hurts from sitting here this long doing this podcast. I don't think I can do
Yeah.
2 hour and 30-minute Godzilla movie.
Yeah. Well, I think we're pretty much ready to wrap it up here anyway, guys. Let us know what you thought about Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and Ma, if you have seen them. And if you haven't seen them,
Go see both.
check them out.
Go see both for sure.
They're awesome theater
Just don't do it on the
experiences.
same day like we did because like
Yeah.
I couldn't pick when I had to go take a piss, take a shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of thirsty because like every time I drink I'd have to piss, so I didn't want to drink anymore because I didn't want to miss the movie. They should have built-in toilets in the seats, I think.
Ooh, that's the next $1 billion investment.
Everyone's
right
just
there.
pissing and shitting watching movies at the theater.
Oh,
You turn to
man.
your left, you see some guy with his nutsack hanging, and there's just turds dropping
Oh,
into
Jesus.
a bucket underneath the seat. Amazing. $1 billion idea.
Well, you can either compliment us on that genius idea or fucking just antagonize us by checking out our social media. Grave Discussions is on the internets. Facebook, Instagram, just search Grave Discussions. And then we're on Twitter as well, if you look up Gravedisc SRD. We also have a website where you can check out all of our episodes, even the upcoming ones, and read more about us. That's at gravediscussions.net.
Yes, you can read our host bios, read our favorite movies, which we probably need to update since we saw a lot more now. And you can read our talents for some reason, or things we can do, and you know, our backstories and what got us into horror. And you're not going to see our faces. They're not on there. Don't try.
Yeah, don't try it. So that's going to wrap it up, guys, for episode number 64.
Yes, and we'll see you next week, where we do cartwheels for charity on grave discussions. We're not doing that.
This has been an SRD production.